based off of the reports afterward that she was kind of like saying goodbye to the crowd, which immediately makes me go, okay, put her on Monday Night Raw, team her up with Lyra Valkyria, and the Lyra and Bayley tag team. Lyra and Tatum is a much better tag team.
I like it.
Congrats to Zarya, though.
Yeah, she should have won, like, a year ago, at least. I will watch the show, because I wanna see the matches, and it'll be cool to see Zarya win as well. I will say, seeing your big poster for Great American Bash being Evil, Tony D, Tatum Paxley, who may or may not be leaving NXT soon, and Lola Vice, it's just like, this is not an inspired roster right now, and they could use a huge boost, and I hope they get it.
I think that the women's side of things, just as has always been the case, or at least for the last few years, been carrying it. And I think like people like Lola Vice and Tate Paxley, Kendall Gray, Kalani Jordan, Zarya, they're all people that should be on the main roster, really, with their skill set. So I think that's helping elevate things a little bit to make up for the very, 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 very subpar men's roster. But yeah, I think. Do you want to bring up the ringside news thing?
I don't even know what it is.
That's all you, buddy.
Yeah, okay, I'll bring it up then. So Zarya, after winning the title as part of like her celebration, she licked the title belt.
Yeah, I used that graphic because I was like, that might get some clicks.
Yeah. Well, it got ringside news attention to the point where they decided to, with a caption saying "Don't lick title belts," post a picture of Zarya licking the title belt next to, I'm going to say, that photo of Paige. And people know what that photo of Paige is about. I'm not going to say any more about that. I'll go into, but you know what that. You know what that photo is. Rob knows what that photo is. A lot of people will, if you don't know, like it's
not the page here. Let's put it that way.
yeah. And it's like, I know ringside news is like pieces of shit and like should never be like that website can't die soon enough. But it's more of a case of to utilise that sort of material, which is completely not just explicit and gross by any stretch of the imagination, but something that was stolen from her private like photos and videos for this purpose, is like the next level of like just wildly gross and disgusting. And I'd say, how can this that's something like that, or attitudes like this, not lead to significant repercussions? Like beyond the point that like Paige should be able to utilise that information or utilise what just happened there and bring that whole company down. And they would deserve it because they're
as she should.
Yeah, there's certain things that you could just make a judgment call on, and yeah.
They've clearly got no moral judgment. I don't like people with no, as we know from like what's happening just at the very top end of the United States right now. I don't like people with have zero moral compass being in any position of power or influence. They should be like removed as soon as possible.
You'll never hear more of an agreement with me than that. Yeah. Which, by the way, fuck the UFC thing. I hope that ends up being as much of a massive failure as possible, to the point that, like, it's disastrous and really hurts. You know, it's like a stain on the company forever. And, fuck all the MAGA people and all that in every fashion whatsoever. And this whole thing with Janelle Grant, too. Real quick thing about that. I don't like the idea that it kind of seems like this is all just going to be like, yeah, okay, so enough money gets passed around and that's the end of it. Because that's annoying as all hell, too. And if that ends up happening, when are they going to bring Vince back? You know?
Yeah. I'm not going to obviously expand too much into it because there's not very much point, but the fact that it's going into private arbitration now is just, it's a disappointing outcome. At the end of the day, I hope she gets the money that she's owed for this, because at the very least that she deserves that. But it's not great that we're not going to see like him getting publicly shamed at the very least as a result of it.
And I co-sign on everything these gentlemen have said.
Justice is, we need some more Batman types out there or something, Backtracking to Monday Night Raw, talk about what happened there. Not a whole lot, to be perfectly honest. Monday Night Raw was one of those episodes that really they killed a lot of time. But, some King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring stuff. Liv Morgan won her round match. Javon Evans surprisingly won his. And I think the big takeaway from this episode was the Chad Gable side of it. So Gable apologized to Penta backstage. Penta told him, if there's somebody you really want to apologize to, you know who to go to. And then the next thing that they showed was Dragon Lee. I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh, it's very mysterious there. I was like, okay, that makes more sense. And Ray told him, you got to think back even further before you put the mask on and realize, what else you've done. You were a dickhead before you did the El Grande Americano stuff. And later on, afterward, Penta beats Rey Mysterio, retains the Men's Intercontinental Championship. Ethan Page and Rusev attack. Rusev actually unmasks Rey. And Dragon Lee tries to help out, and it ends up being that Chad Gable is the one that needs to come out, help out, and give the mask back to Ray as a little sign of, good faith, which is immediately making me just like, man, somebody's got to take that belt off of Penta, and Chad Gable's got to win that Intercontinental title. You got to do it now. You missed all the opportunities before. Can you just fucking do it now? Please?
SummerSlam is 2 nights in Minneapolis. You cannot... I'm not going to say you cannot miss, because they can. But they should not miss.
I mean, ideally, in my mind, next week's episode of Raw, you either give the belt to Rusev or you give it to Ethan Page. And then by the time you get around to SummerSlam, Chad Gable beats one of those. Yeah.
I thought it was good. I actually watched the show, and I liked that they kept the thread going with Chad throughout the night. Different than Tony's hatred of the Royce Keys solo segments, because this actually went somewhere.
Yeah, instead of just repeating the same thing 6 times and then doing it again next week.
It feels like he's going to apologize to Alpha Academy, right?
I'd assume that's probably the next thing. And then since
Maxine
wants to leave,
no?
then... Yeah.
And then Maxine says no, and then the Vision come out and beat up Alpha Academy. Maybe that seemed more likely back when they had Logan Paul, but with Braun being one half the tag team champions, and also in the main event segment, maybe they don't waste too much time with that.
This Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins thing is still just it's not working. So, SmackDown tonight has the final four Fatal 4-Ways for the King and Queen of the Ring. And we've got Gunther picking a stipulation for his upcoming match against Cody Rhodes, whenever the hell that happens, whatever they pick for that, which I have no idea where they're going to go in that direction, but it'll be the 3 hours where, if you watch the 3 hours of SmackDown, you'll get about half an hour's worth of material. And Dynamite was a summer blockbuster. It's the last thing for us to talk about here. So we talked a little bit about some of that stuff already, but rundown of that. Tommy's mommy. That was the thing that started this all off.
This was awful.
This fucking sucked. And the worst thing about it is not even just that the segment sucked, which it did. It's the fact that this opened the show and it just set a terrible tone for what was, I thought, a pretty underwhelming episode. Certainly not worthy of the title Summer Blockbuster.
I actually didn't even listen to the segment. I was pretty quickly yeah, I'm not into this, and then I just started to do other shit. If something big and important happens, I'm gonna see about it.
He won't say it, because this is Jericho, but this whole run feels like, oh, you were so ready to be Y2J. You were there. You had the gear. You were just ready to go and be Y2J, because this felt like a very Chris Jericho babyface WWE promo.
yeah, it was just very bland, very boring. Like nothing was funny about it, and then just a pull apart thing. I say I don't mind Jericho being involved. Obviously, I do to a degree because I'd rather just have like better wrestlers and younger wrestlers doing stuff now. But it's more of a case of I don't mind it if it's buried in the mid card, like in the the final third of the show or something. But the fact this is opening, it's just like no, that's too prominent a position. You go from how bad this segment was to finding out that Saray wasn't cleared to wrestle, and so she's not going to be in the Owen Hart tournament, and then my night was pretty much ruined from that moment onwards. Like, okay, but I don't really like nothing else is going to be great. It doesn't matter if like the John Moxley Shane Taylor match is good. We know that Shane Taylor has zero chance of winning, so I'm not going to be super thrilled about it.
Yeah, I feel like, oh man, are you excited about that Shane Taylor promotions? It's like, no.
Well, they seem to be pushing them now, actually making them a figure on AEW TV because they lost the 6-man titles from Ring of Honor. The only one that's holding a title from Ring of Honor still is Lee Moriarty. And so maybe this is a promotion for them. Maybe they've decided, okay, they're going to be a faction on AEW TV regularly now. And this is part of doing that, is having them feud with the Death Riders.
They got a Shane Taylor promotion?
No, Shane Taylor got the promotion, he said.
Yeah, I mean, that's a feud. I don't know if anybody's particularly interested in it, but it seems like that's continuing into Collision.
Well, yeah, it's continuing into Collision. I like that. It'll be a fun match on Collision.
If you're loving Kevin Knight stumble over his promos and be in the Don Callis family for some reason, he's now going to feud with Darby Allin going forward. Andrade still trying to leave the group essentially and continuing to do his whole thing. He beats Orange Cassidy, wants a title shot. Don Callis continues to ignore that. He didn't lose his teeth this week, at least. That was good, Don Callis.
How you know?
Well, yeah, true. It might have happened off screen. Briscoe had beaten Pac. They set up the idea of this match at Forbidden Door that we were talking about earlier, where Briscoe's got a couple people that he's going to have on his side. MJF's got a couple people on his side. They're going to have a 6-on-6 steel cage ladder match, or no ladder match, steel cage match for steel cage ladder match. Why not? A steel cage ladder, fucking tables. If Briscoe's team wins, he gets a title shot. So
So this is now like a tradition thing now for them because they did was it a 5-on-5 or 6-on-6? I can't remember exactly, but last year they did like a big multi-man steel cage match. So they've decided that this is a thing they're now going to do for Forbidden Door. I'm not opposed to the overall idea. I don't think that it necessarily needs to be on every single Forbidden Door moving forward, but Tony Khan does like those patterns as well. He likes to do stadium stampedes at Double or Nothing, or I'm sure there'll be at least one or two casino gauntlets at All In. Like there are certain patterns that he falls into, and it seems that we get Blood and Guts every July or August, whenever it's convenient to fit that in. So yeah, it doesn't surprise. It wouldn't surprise me if they just continue to do this as the main event of the show. I'd much rather the main event of the show be Will Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland, because we know that that's now the Owen Hart tournament final after he defeated Brody King on this show. But it's gone exactly the way that we predicted it to go. But that's not a bad thing. It's like, Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay for at Forbidden Door. Yeah, sign me up for that. That sounds great.
At least that match will mostly deliver. Then whatever else they end up putting on there, it might be one way or another. But
so with Saray being out of commission as well, it meant that Maya World came in to replace her and face Sky Blue, which I think was a nice touch because Maya World recently lost her brother. So they decided to give her an opportunity to perform here, and then she ends up having like the surprise victory over Sky Blue. So she's going to advance to face Athena. I think now, because the way things have fallen, it's now going to be Athena winning and advancing to the final against Mercedes Moné. That might have always been the plan, who knows, but that seems like it's pretty much nailed on now. That'll be the final of the women's tournament, and then Mercedes will win that. So, but that's again, that would be a cool match to see. I've seen Athena versus Mercedes before, but they always have good matches. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do the same thing for Forbidden Door.
And they've never had a match on this level, right? Like, they've wrestled on TV. This will be a special place for them. It'll be a banger. I'm ready for Mercedes to get that world title, and I'm excited to see how she can revitalize that division. Of course, I say it every time. I'm ready for Athena to come over full time as well, but who knows when she'll lose that Ring of Honor title, if she ever does.
Well, she's forever champion, so she can't, right?
I mean, the booking would have you believe that that's accurate.
Wait until the spoilers come out for the next night of Global Wars and we find out. Oh my god, they just had her lose it to Shiori.
Had her lose on a tape show. Jesus Christ.
It's like, oh my god, Leah Rush won that too? Hello.
It's fine. It's honestly, like Callum mentioned, this episode of Dynamite wasn't super great. I was more invested in the Knicks game, which I eventually turned off because they were losing so badly, only to find out later they won, which, good for them. Apparently a certain somebody was just bringing bad luck to Madison Square Garden, and
you don't want to rush the series, but then again, they only need to win one more match, so maybe you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll watch the one on Saturday thinking this is probably going to be them winning. And then, Tony, you can give us a close and personal report on the celebrations in New York City.
I have no horse in that race, but I do kind of want to see the Knicks win just because people will go a little bit crazy, and I won't be outside during it, you know?
We've got one of two scenarios. They're either going to go crazy with celebrations, which is the more likely outcome, or they're going to burn the city down when they lose the series with like one of the biggest comebacks ever by the Spurs. But then again, they're going back to the Spurs place next, aren't they? And that's basically where their home thing is because they've won all the matches there so far. So I don't think it's very likely that we're going to see a big collapse from this point.
I don't know. I mean, I'm from the Philly area, so I'm used to the reports of like, hey, last year you guys climbed a bunch of these poles, so we're going to grease the poles. So then people going, oh, well, then we'll just knock the poles over. And like, yeah, we'll just flip this police car and be like, fuck yeah, they won. So, I don't know. I'm all for casual vandalism. Let's put it that way. Unless it's me that you're getting fucked up.
Folks.
Yeah. We got the Tony Mango endorsement. Casual vandalism. It's alright as long as I'm not involved. Yeah, so, I mean, summer blockbuster. Was it a blockbuster? Or was it more so the way that blockbuster is these days, where it doesn't really exist anymore? And, that's the hot tags we got for this week. It's not the most grandiose list of things, but hey, that's your rundown. And next week we got the King of the Ring fan outs table. We're going to do a watch along for that.